Welcome to Second Take, the show that focuses on the issues behind the news. Loss-making power utility Eskom is facing an 80 billion rand shortfall on funding for its expansion program needed to keep the country's lights on. Engineering News contributing editor Christy van der Merwe attended Eskom's results presentation in Johannesburg, where it also announced a 9.7 billion rand loss for the last financial year. Christy, welcome to Second Take. Before we look at the funding gap, a 9.7 billion rand loss, that is quite a big loss.
It is huge. I think, the number gets thrown around so much that we actually lose a sense of what it really means, but it definitely is a record-breaking loss for Eskom. It's largely linked to embedded derivatives or commodity-linked pricing contracts, and the utility has said that they are going to renegotiate a lot of those contracts, so hopefully we won't see a repeat of this. Also, they made a 3.2 billion rand operating loss. That's very significant. Even though they got a tariff increase, sales volumes, because of the economic downturn, were lower for the first time in 10 years. They were 4.2% down. And also the utility spent a lot more on maintenance of its plant. Employee costs went up. They hired a lot more staff. And importantly, the price of coal, what they were paying for their primary energy costs, went up significantly. But Jacob Moroka, the CEO, has said that the company aims to break even at an operating level this financial year.
Let's look at the 80 billion rand funding loss. What does this mean? And will it mean South Africans will have to pay more in tariffs? Or will Eskom go to the state and ask for money? How will it close the gap?
Well, as yet, we're not sure, but we're expecting clarity on this at the end of September. This 80 billion shortfall is in the capital expenditure requirement. So what the executives have said is that the way that this company is operating financially is simply not sustainable. And importantly, what they need to decide on, what the country needs to decide on, is what an appropriate tariff is for electricity so that they can cover their costs. Not only Eskom, but IPPs as well and co-generating industries. So once we've decided what an appropriate tariff is, then they can make decisions on where to look for other funding, be it loans or guarantees or equity. So end of September, we'll have more clarity on that.
What did Eskom say about its capital expenditure program, particularly in the light of this 80 billion rand funding shortfall that it's facing? Did it put some of the projects that one can see as less important on the back burner?
Well, they've said that they're going to be spending 385 billion over the next 5 years on expanding to provide the power that we need going forward. They've committed it to 3 projects, and that's where all that money is going at this stage. 3 main projects. That's the Medupi coal-fired power station, which they've started, the Kusile coal-fired power station that they've also started, the Ngula pumped storage system, and there's a bit of that going towards transmission projects as well. And importantly, they have had to delay a number of projects, the most important one being the Nuclear One program. They've also cancelled a wind project, a concentrating solar power project, the Tubatsi pumped storage project, and the Majuba rail project. So while they've had to focus the money that they've got on the 3 major projects that they've started already, it's a bit of a worry to see that it's largely renewable energy projects that are getting delayed. They've said that they'll have to possibly push them into another accounting period. But if the utility wants to decrease its carbon footprint and diversify away from coal, it's going to need to get these projects up and running at some point.
What is the outlook for electricity demand, particularly as we go into 2010 when South Africa will be hosting the World Cup?
Jacob Moroka sounded very confident yesterday that the utility would be able to keep the lights on for the 2010 World Cup. He said the Confederations Cup in June was a good dry run for the utility. We got through that smoothly, so they don't foresee any problems for that soccer spectacular next year. They were also very proud of the fact that we've managed to come through since April 2008 without any load shedding. And they don't foresee any load shedding in the future, but obviously can't be 100% about that because there are a lot of variables with equipment and machinery, and unsure of what the demand is going to look like in the future. But they have said that they expect demand to increase in this financial year, 2009-10.
Thank you very much, Christy. That's the Second Take show for today. Thank you for watching, and join us again next week for more news analysis.